Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17 and today I'm talking about faction choices in 1v1 tournaments and win-losses to an extent. Yeah, you may be wondering, Greyshot, that's kind of weird, but I thought it would be interesting because a lot of people are bringing up the fact that certain factions are played more and certain factions are terrible, but I actually wanted to do some stat collecting and see if that was the case. So I pulled up the Tactical Resurgence 1v1 tournament from March, and I pulled up AE's the Master League 5, I believe, the finals that just had round 1 and 2. The Tactical Resurgence had about 36 games played, where I believe the Master League had 66. I want to say so, something along those lines. Point is that each side had a number of games and a number of awesome players in it. So why not see what they picked and compare and contrast? So let's get to it. First off, the most popular faction choice for the Tactical Resurgence, again, these are all games back in March, was the Austere at 25. I know, not shocking to anyone, but still, it's easily the most popular in terms of the axis for that tournament with 25 picks. Now, number 2 in overall picks goes to the Soviets. I know, a little bit shocking to say the Soviets, but yeah, the Soviets had 23 picks. They were very close to being the Austere, the closest out of any allied faction by far for one. But anyway, the third one goes to the USF with a steep drop at 13. He has only 13 picks for the USF, with the 4th place option going to the OKW, which right up there with the USF. It's at 11, very close, but again, compared to the Austere, not even. But I could also say the same thing for the British, who you may be saying, wait, Greyshot, how low are they? And another person's going, wait a second, you said 36 games, and all those numbers equal 36, and you would be, or 72 for the, I guess, 2 in a single game, and you would be right. They had no picks. They were the black sheep. Nobody wanted to pick the Brits in the Tactical Resurgence, and I find that hilarious because usually when I think of competitive plays, the British are typically up there, but apparently nobody picked them in that tournament. They had no plays, and again, not really much else to say about them, except they were the least popular. Now, looking at the USF, the win rate of them was 0.53. So again, they had above 50% win rate. Good for them. They had 7 wins, 6 losses. The Soviets, on the other hand, had a 0.39% win ratio with 9 wins, 14 losses. The British, again, big fat 0. OKW had a 0.45% win rate with 5 wins and 6 losses, where the Austere had 16 wins and 9 losses, making it the highest win-loss ratio at 0.64%. Again, pretty damn sweet. Now, does that compare to the Master League? The Master League, number 1 choice, was the Austere with 41 picks. The second choice was the Soviets, once again holding strong on the second place with 34, but the USF getting closer in this case with 30 picks. Fourth in this situation, or second for the Axis, was the OKW, but again, 24 picks for them. And in 5th place, once again, goes the British, except this time they actually had some games. It just didn't go well for them. They had just 3 picks in the overall tournament, and this is out of dozens of games. They only were picked 3 times. Again, I'm not sure what's that saying to them, but right now they are not in the meta. If you're looking at tournament plays, you are more likely to see a Soviet Austere game than anything to do with the Brits. And I find that absolutely fascinating, especially looking at win-loss ratios. The USF had a 0.56, again, very similar to the Tactical Resurgence, very close. The Soviets, also equally close, 0.41% win-loss ratio overall. Again, very interesting to see that. And again, for the USF and Soviets respectively, 17 wins for the USF, 13 losses, compared to 14 wins for the Soviets, 20 losses. So again, some big differences there in a win-loss, but overall, very similar stats compared to the Tactical Resurgence. The British, which again is now just new info, got a 0.33% win rate, so did not perform very well. Only 1 win and 2 losses, which you can at least say they won this in this overall round compared to the last set. So there's that. The OKW had a 0.54% win rate, so they did a lot better than the previous Tactical Resurgence tournament. And the Oz tier also did well, but not as well. They had a 0.54% win rate. So overall, if I had to say the best win rate for this tournament, it actually went to the USF. The Americans actually had the best win rate, which again, very, very close. It's only 0.02%, but they did pull out a win, which I was not expecting, comparing the Tactical Resurgence stats and just assuming that they would be very similar, with Austere easily leading. And while they did overall lead against the OKW, win rate wise and overall just effectiveness went to the USF. However, it could also be said that the OKW did increase overall and had a higher win rate, and you could also make the argument that overall the OKW and the Austere as the Axis had an overall win rate. So I guess you could just add in all the Axis OP memes into this and just say that they are OP. But stats don't lie, and that's what it's showing. Right now, the Soviets and Brits are both underperforming in a 1v1 aspect, or at least win-loss rate. And again, should be granted that it also should be noted that player skill, maps, and other factors can come into play, and also just random luck in terms of things happening on the map that may go for a player or not for others. But in this situation, I do find it interesting, especially with the win rates being so similar to the other tournament. Hey guys, before this video ends, I do want to give a quick shout out to AE's bracket system. Again, it's right here. It's the same bracket system used in the finals and has all the stats that I mentioned earlier. And in case you're wondering how I got those stats, the total gameplays are here, but I went to individual games to calculate win, loss rate, etc. in this. Ovadi, same thing. It was in the same area the players could veto and such, so that's why I just did calculations. But that, and also him bringing up the Commander video in A's recent video where he talked about this whole system and how Jibber Jabber Jobber is working very hard and calculating all these stats and stuff, that brought to attention maybe the reason why certain doctrines are picked. It doesn't really affect the win rate maybe as much, but it does affect choice, and I find that fascinating, which is why I'm kind of including it in this video. So in the meantime, I did talk to a couple competitors since that 2-week span since I recorded that video, and it turns out that people aren't picking the Brits. From what I can tell, the most popular reason is no mobile artillery. So the Sexton's fine and the Mattress is okay, but they don't compare to the Panzerwerfer, the Stuka, the Calliope, stuff like that, which a lot of players, I guess, enjoy more. I'm kind of curious on that because, again, we did see in day 2 the British were used a bit more, and they were used quite effectively. So, yeah, and again, if we go over to Commanders, and we kind of go over this, you can kind of see that for the UK, it's essentially Lend-Lease. That's the thing people like. All right, whatever. There's only 3 games anyway. But here's where we get more interesting. USF, they're still picking Mechanized, and I find that curious because, again, Mechanized did receive a lot of nerfs in the previous patch, but people are still picking it, and this is the most up-to-date version that's not the community testing arena, like that sort of version of Code 2 where everything is really, really early and they're still messing around with stuff. This is the most recent patch and update with the tournament scene. So with Mechanized Company Airborne being picked, my best assumption with the USF is people really like Cavalry, Riflemen. That's still very, very good. Overall, the Doctrine still is performing very well, even if the early truck, the military truck, is not as amazing as it once was. Even though with those negatives right there, it's still picked, and that's probably why the USF is still picked compared to the Soviet, because you can see here there's 2 consistent ones, the Airborne, Mechanized. Soviet's a little more up in the air. It's either Airborne, then you have kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, so there's not really a central strategy, which may see why the Soviets are picked the most, because again, you have airborne troops. Again, people are like, okay, good infantry, I can do a lot of things here, but then there's still a little up in the airness about what you can pick, which is also good because that means there's multiple different strategies people use, and it seems like it worked well in some cases and not so much in others, compared to counterattacks, which again, I find hilarious that they're like, we need to change that, even though in the tournament apparently at a 0% win rate. Cool. Anyway, I know why. It's the KV-1. Apparently the KV-1 is overperforming in that. That's probably why they're changing it. But again, if I look back at Ovadi's veto system, in Special Operations, Blitzkrieg and Jaeger were pretty much consistently picked as vetoes, and then of course the Master League there wasn't that there wasn't anything. As you can see here, there wasn't a veto system really to speak of, unless I'm mistaken. So yeah, Jaeger infantry and Blitzkrieg were the most popular by far. Of course, you had some, you know, distinctive things. You always will, but I think that speaks to the power of Jaeger infantry in terms of people like, I think it's light artillery barrage, the Jaeger infantry squad. Just that performance is so good that's why the Austere maybe is still like the top picked or like up there, because they just generally rely on the infantry. Or the OKW, it's special operations, which is very good, but they don't have that like second thing that is like riding the line, like Blitzkrieg Doctrine, which again has good speed boost, command tank, etc., which is also pretty dang good. But I think the combination of those is the reason why it's used. So again, fascinating stuff, at least in that capacity. But yeah, just some like cliff notes I want to add to the end of this video, because I find maybe that could be the reason why the faction picks are so consistent. Because again, within those faction picks, you can see the commanders chosen, and it kind of leans that way. I'm curious to see, once a veto system, a consistent veto system is used, if that would change anything more. Or would it be like a Vadi system and the British weren't picked? But again, the British still performed. I mean, like in day 2, it doesn't have day 2 stats here, and again, I will probably do a video if it's really interesting, or maybe an end cap. But yeah, yeah, just want to add this in maybe as reason for some picks. But hey, let me know down below what you guys think, and again, in the comments. And hey, and hopefully you found this interesting, because again, my whole point was just kind of talking about faction picks and maybe a reason why. And I got a little bit of info with the British. Again, maybe it's the mobile artillery that's really lacking, that people don't pick, even though again their infantry and armor is super good. And on the flip side, just commander choice overall maybe having an impact. But hey, this has been Greyshot17. I'll see all you guys next time. Alright, before you guys go, I want to give a special shout out to Patreon supporters: Joey G240, Milam, Aphyria, Ace, PyroShark, Tony B95, Epic Pleb, Fall of Man 7943, XSomeToolx, and Netkuba. Thank you all for your incredible support. You guys rock. This has been Greyshot17, and I'll see all of you next time.